Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, my beautiful people. How are you? How are you? How are you? It is Wednesday, wonderful Wednesday. I am doing well. I slept okay last night. I don't know about you guys, but I slept okay. Um, I had a little difficulty falling asleep, but then I was able to actually go to sleep. So, anyway, so today is wonderful Wednesday. And I just hope that you guys know that it is so wonderful to be wonderful. Yeah, I know I'm cheesy. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about self-esteem today because self-esteem is something that many of us struggle with. And if you're not struggling with it now, there are still, or you don't believe you're struggling with it now, I'm going to tell you that there are still times in our lives where things that have happened to us in our past, the way that people have treated us in our past, sometimes can trigger us um, when we are feeling like, oh well, my self-esteem is higher, like it's everything is good, and then someone can say something to us, and then our self-esteem can fall. But a lot of what we are dealing with sometimes is that we are dealing with the repercussions of our childhood and different life experiences. Um, I will say that I am one I have built my self-esteem back up, but there are still times where my self-esteem can fall. So, example, growing up, I had really bad cystic, I think it's called, acne. And so my self-esteem was really, really challenged at that time because I didn't think I was pretty enough. I didn't think that I had what it took to be attractive or anything like that. So I was very, very insecure of my skin. And so now, like, I'm on the skin journey, and although like my skin has come a long way, there's still parts of it that I don't like. But you know, I've learned to embrace it and to understand that I am who I am, and as long as I'm doing the best that I can, that insecurity kind of it must leave. And so I embrace my skin, I embrace my flaws. And so that's somewhat of what I want to talk to you guys today about. Although some things that we or you're dealing with, you may still be a little insecure with it or about it. I want you to learn how to embrace those challenges or those challenging behaviors in your life, and to do the best that you can to change it or to modify or to make better. But make sure it's for you. Don't don't make it about someone else. Make sure the changes that you're making within your life and within your behaviors are for you. I made a choice to do better with my skin and try to get my skin under control to look better for myself. Once I learned that regardless of how my skin looked, I was a really great person. I'm a beautiful person regardless of what someone else thinks. And I also realized that there are people out here that would love me for me and would think I was attractive regardless. And I think that sometime growing up, we have these flaws. Like some people might not, think that we're smart enough. So that might be a flaw or a self-esteem issue where, once you become an adult or you start to get some traction in your intelligence, you overcompensate because when you were younger, someone told you that you weren't smart enough. Someone told you that you wasn't wise enough. Someone told you that you didn't know what you were doing. So now you are in a position maybe of power, and you've taken that self-esteem challenge, and now you're overcompensating, and you're not being a great leader, you're not being a good person, um you're thinking that you have to over teach or you're over learned, or you always got to do something to prove that you are good enough intellectually. And that can be something that happened in the past, like when you were growing up. Or that could just be something where, as an adult or a young adult, someone told you that you weren't smart enough, and now you're in these positions, or you are finally feeling confident, that now you're just being a nasty person, and that is a self-esteem issue. There are other things that we do sometimes. We can be in a place of happiness, and someone will use a trigger word. So say if we're having a great time and someone says to you, Tasha, like, every time I talk to you, you seem to cut me off. And it's like, okay, I get that. And okay, where does that come from? Instead of us getting upset about it, we need to sit back and say, okay, why do I cut people off? What is it about me? And work on it. Because sometimes people get upset with critiquing, and then that's like a self-esteem issue. People don't pay attention to that. It really is. When someone critiques a situation or behavior, it does not always mean that they're mad at you or they think that you're a bad person. They're giving you a critique. It is up to us to not take it personally, but to really look at it and say, how can I do better? So sometimes when we have really high self-esteem, and then, or we feel like we have high self-esteem, and then someone says something to us that makes us feel like they're coming at us or whatever, like we automatically become defensive or offended. And we do not have to do that. Sometimes it's important to step back and pay attention to why you're feeling the way you are feeling. Self-esteem issues can come from childhood, it can come from adulthood, it can come from relationships, it can come from anywhere. However, we have to be mindful that if we want to change our challenging behaviors, we have to listen. Sometimes we are not listening because we're so busy worrying about someone saying something to us that is going to offend us or make us upset, or something that we don't agree with. We don't always have to agree with everything someone says, but we need to be respectful of the fact that that's their feeling. That's how you're making them feel. And if you know for a fact that you're not doing anything wrong, the only thing you can do is say, thank you, but I'm going to work on that, or I apologize if I offended you, but not to always take it negatively or offensively, because I like to always take what someone says to me that might hurt my feelings, and I like to sit with it for a little while and before I get offended, because it's like sometimes you really do have to pay attention to, is it me or is it them? And many times, if someone is saying something to you and you have a great relationship with them, or you love them or whatever, for the most part, it is something that is bothering them and they want you to do better. So they're bringing it out, not to hurt you, but to show you, like, this is a challenge for me, and it's kind of hurting our relationship. And not to say that it should always hurt our self-esteem, but we have to also think about, where is that coming from? Sometimes we get into places where we want people to always acknowledge us, our feelings, our wants, but sometimes we're not always acknowledging the other person or the people around us. We have to work on our triggers. We have to work on the things that bother us all the time. But one of the things we have to do better is listen. We don't listen enough. We don't do enough of listening. We constantly want people to help us or do for us, but we're not listening. So self-esteem really comes from listening. Um, we have all had times in our lives where we were uh, uh, let down, where we were talked negatively down to or about. But sometimes listen to what people are saying. Sometimes people are telling you things, and um, it really could be like a learning experience or something that you can do better for yourself. Good morning, Miss Tara. Thank you for listening this morning. But I just really feel like with self-esteem, it comes from childhood, it comes from, relationships, it comes from just situations. But look at it. Look at what is actually happening. Look at the critiques of what people are critiquing you on, and think about, what is it about you or your challenging behavior to them that's causing kind of like the bumping heads. Because sometimes we just always look at the fact that someone said something negative to us. We're not really thinking about how we could have offended them, because we're not listening. Good morning, Miss Barbara. We're not listening. Good morning, Ms. Deb. So it's important that we listen to what someone is critiquing us on, and not always think that that person is coming for us, but really paying attention to why do I feel like someone is coming for me? Because a lot of that is from you. It's from something that you haven't released, something that you haven't dealt with. It has nothing to do with the person. And so that's why it's important to listen to what people are saying. When someone says something to you, you have to make sure that you're listening to them, processing it, and making sure that you're not being offended over something that you haven't dealt with that they have now triggered. Hope that makes sense. Good morning, Shantae. How are you all this morning? Well, I got some people on here today. I feel listened to. But yeah, so it's important that we pay attention to our self-esteem patterns. Our self-esteem can go up and it can go down. When it's going down, we need to pay attention. When it's going up, we need to pay attention, because sometimes we feel validated by someone agreeing with us, and sometimes someone who's agreeing with you is not a really good person, because sometimes people are just agreeing with you just because. You want to make sure that if someone is agreeing with you or making you feel excited, why does that make you feel excited, right? We all want to feel good. We all want to feel validated, but you should be able to feel validated even when no one's agreeing with what you're saying. As long as you know and you're speaking from your heart and you're speaking from your truth, you should be okay with that, regardless if they agree or they don't agree. But self-esteem is something that many of us don't even pay attention to. We really don't understand that our self-esteem has been built through our life. And and if we're paying attention to how we treat people, how other people treat us, and what we have been through and how we have gotten through it, we can really rebuild our self-esteem to say, you know what, rather someone says something positive or negative, I'm going to listen to what they're saying, I'm going to process it, and I'm going to take whatever pieces that is, that pertains to me, I'm going to work on it. The other piece I may not have to work on, but I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to make you feel so much better when you start to listen, to what um, this is like, when you start to listen to what people are saying to you and not being offended or judgmental just because you may not agree or it daggered you, it makes your relationships better. I want people to know, like, if I offend you in any way, we can talk about it after you process it, especially if I'm not trying to be offensive or I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think sometimes, we get so stuck on the fact that as soon as someone says something to us that we don't agree with, we get offended and we want to, holler back at them. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's like, just process, listen to what they're saying. You don't have to agree with everything they're saying, but you also don't have to be mean, right? Yes, Shantae, it's very essential. And for clarity, for everything that we do, we need to make sure that we have clarity. Sometimes even through text messages can be something where, you can have your self-esteem kind of like, uh, I would say, challenged, because sometimes in text messages it comes out wrong. That's why I always tell people, don't have important conversations through a text message, because you will mess yourself up and you will probably mess the other person up. But I think that it's important that we're listening and we're understanding and we're processing, and we are paying attention to why that thing bothered us. When we pay attention to why something bothered us, it's helpful for us to then make the necessary changes to be better. Um, so yeah, that is what I wanted to say this morning. I'm so happy that you guys checked in. Good morning, Miss Nadine. I'm glad you are feeling better. Well, I hope you are feeling better. I didn't get a chance to check on you yet, but I'm thankful that you came on, and you got a lot of great things going on, and I'm happy for you. So, I just want you guys to know that today is Wonderful Wednesday. You guys are wonderful no matter what. We are wonderful beings. We are wonderful women. We are wonderful creatures. And so just let today be wonderful no matter what it looks like. Just allow it to be wonderful for you. When you start to feel down, remember today is a wonderful day. It's a day for recovering. It's a day of reuniting. It's a day of self-awareness. It's a day of listening. All right. So today is Wonderful Wednesday. I'm your girl Tasha Rose, your transparent sister in women's healing. And I want you to know that I love you and God loves you too. Peace.